No, we can't wait. Okay, the next item that we're here to discuss is the school budget. And I would like to start off myself in saying I would like to begin our meeting tonight by thanking everybody for attending. And I feel, and I and my fellow city members sincerely appreciate all the hard work that the school board and the administration has put into the school budget. I realize this is never a simple process that required hundreds of hours of work to produce and is not going to be taken lightly by any member of this committee tonight. We are here tonight to discuss the challenges our schools will be facing during these trying times. However, I don't need to remind everyone in attendance or watching here tonight that we are not the only ones who are struggling to stay afloat. Our state, other cities, small businesses here in our community, and especially our Danbury families, are dealing day to day with making tough choices as the cost of goods and doing business have gone up and many paychecks have decreased, and some not having paychecks at all. So we have a lot to cover tonight, so please try to make your statement short and to the point, and try not to duplicate any other statements that have been stated. Thank you. I think I will.
Irving?
Irving?
Yes, right there. Stand.
Mr. Fox, would you like to address
Thank you.
the board?
Once again, my name is Irving Fox. I reside at 58 Ridgewood Drive. I'm the chairman of the Danbury Board of Education. Thank you for the committee for having this session and for enabling us to discuss the budget further. When we last spoke, roughly 2 weeks ago, the budget that was before you, the budget that the board had adopted, was not a budget that retained all of the services that the district provides today. Understanding that, as Ms. Stanley has pointed out, that we're living in unprecedented economic times, the board recognized that and spent roughly the latter part of the last 3 to 4 months meeting in various sessions, many of which members of the committee attended, in terms of trying to find the best possible solution to run the school district at the least possible cost given the economic climate. So with that in mind, the board had adopted its budget, roughly 3.8% increase over previous levels. And although that is an increase from the prior year, it is $1 million short of what the district needs to operate as it stands today. And so given that, the board had taken about $1 million of service reductions out of its adopted budget. The board's position at that time was to try and stay away from the classroom as much as possible. And over the last several years, as budget reductions have come through, we've kind of peeled away at some of our support services, trying to keep the classrooms intact. I think as we adopted our budget that was sent to the mayor's office, that was probably our last attempt to try and do that without hitting the classroom. And even with that, we did reduce by about 4 or 5 teachers, about 8 FTEs altogether. But keeping in mind, we wanted to minimize the impact to the students. With the mayor's proposal, as it was presented, that represents about a $2.3 million reduction off of what we approved. And in the board's estimation, we simply cannot stay away from the classroom any longer. What you'll hear tonight from our administration, from our finance committee, is probably the product of several months of work and discussion, a lot of which you've attended, to go over the scenarios so that you went back.
No, I was just going to ask you,
My mouth is very dry. Sorry about that.
you're making me
Take your
nervous.
time.
No problem, take your time.
But the $2.3 million reduction, what you'll see tonight as our finance committee and our administration will present, is the product of several months of discussions, looking at various scenarios, and trying to minimize the impact of what the ultimate number is going to be. But the scenarios you'll see, because the budget is not yet final, will not only reflect what the superintendent's recommendation is at this point for those additional reductions, but should the budget be reduced any further, again, we've looked at those scenarios as well. So at least the committee can have an appreciation for what the impact to the educational community would be as a result of our economic climate and our ability to pay for the school system. So with that, I will turn that over to the chairman of our finance committee, Mr. Michael Fazio. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like some water?
Good evening, I'm Mike Fazio, and most of you know me, I'm the chairman of the Board of Education Finance Committee. And,
Everyone here back then?
All right. All right.
You on the council, we on the Board of Ed are tasked with crafting a budget that will take into account the hardships that many of our citizens now face, balancing against and providing the children of Danbury quality education, one that will not rob them of their ability to earn a living and live comfortably in the future. Last year, we worked effectively with our appropriation from the city, and we were able to mitigate much of the impact of the quality of the service we provide to our children through one-time cost avoidance and incremental savings, which we have discussed at many of our workshops. But as we have discussed with those members of the council who attended those workshops, which began back in late fall, those savings are no longer available to us as options for this year. Last year, we worked with a zero increase, and are now working with the mayor's proposal of a 1.79% increase over last year's budget. When you look at that, over 2 years represents a 0.9% increase for each year. It's hard to believe that with approximately 80% of our operational costs tied up to salaries and benefits, that we have not seen a major impact on our ability to deliver the quality education that these Danbury residents are accustomed to having in their schools. We have restructured and worked to find out-of-the-box solutions to the problems we have faced. To this point, we have been successful. Our finance director, Lynn Longo, has provided all of us at our workshop meetings a long list of areas where we have cut costs, and where we continue to look to further increase operating efficiency and further reduce costs. In this economy, my opinion is that the mayor's budget proposal is both fair and equitable. We thank him for his concern for the children of Danbury, for working hard to putting together a fair budget that balances the needs of the system against the taxpayers' ability to pay and support the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who would like to say?
Not to be redundant, but what we're going to try to do tonight is have a PowerPoint that people have on top of it. We try to go through some questions, and then we have a revised budget recommendation that we discussed with the board, and that's the subcommittee board. So maybe we could go through that and then answer questions that you may have.
Okay,
Sound
thank you.
okay?
Sure.
We can start. Bill was not here, Dr. West was not here last week. We're going to go through the slideshow first, and then go through the financials at the end. If you look at the end of that packet, you'll find the financials that will culminate the presentation. Bill?
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you, and thank you for the fiber tech. It's going to mobilize the playing field at the end of a lot of schools. 9 schools didn't have that fiber capability. We now have it, as Paul said. It will give us a far greater opportunity for our children to really have the kind of experiences that are pretty much unmatched. So I want to start by saying thank you. I apologize for anybody. I'm standing in front of the screen. It's a little bit hard to move, so I'll try to let the meeting move there. We just start with this shock because while we're all adults here tonight, the school folks, we're all about kids. And we always want to use it as a backdrop. Why are we having this session tonight? I appreciate the opportunity to come in front of you. And it's critical for us because there are some myths out there that we have perpetuated in one reason or another. And there are a lot of inaccuracies. What we're really trying to do is clarify our fiscal work on behalf of our 10,500 kids. One of the pictures of Danbury High School, one of the most culturally diverse schools in Connecticut. True or false, last year's 0% allocation did not negatively impact the district's ability to educate students. And it's a great question, and people have bounces back and forth, and we understand that. We had a 0% allocation. We took that and did our due diligence through the processes that we always use. Our intent was to try and make this as transparent as possible for children and families. But in fact, it did have a significant impact on us. When we couple the loss of our early reading success program, which was a state grant of $900,000 annually, we got from the New Grade Well. When you couple the early reading success grant that was sunsetted and the 0% allocation, This is what happened. Let me stand over here. We lost 17 elementary reader teachers. These are folks that are providing direct services for children on a daily basis in all 14 of our elementary schools. At the same time, we also lost 2.5, and we talk in terms of full-time equivalents, FTEs, the equivalent of 2.5 elementary teachers, the elimination of 18.7 teachers between the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade levels. We cut 3.2 administrators, 1 support staff, 9 non-certified staff, for a total of 51.4 positions that we lost. There's a misnomer out there. Folks think that there was no impact whatsoever. In part because we offered our building retirement incentive program, the ERIP program, we were able to absorb a lot of the folks whose positions were cut because we had so many people retiring. So the net total, we only had 2 people that actually lost their jobs. We eliminated them through reduction in force. But in reality, 51.4 positions, a little over 51 positions, were actually lost in the school system. And again, you can see the cultural diversity that we have. At any given day, we're between 42 and 50 languages spoken just at the high school. True or false, district has experienced a remarkable degree of growth in student achievement levels during the past 4 years. And we talk in terms of trend data, of 1 year up or 1 year down really doesn't make much of a difference. But over time, it's kind of like the stock market, we're hoping that it goes up instead of going down. The fact of the matter is that we have had substantial growth. The Connecticut Mastery Test is the state assessment that's given in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we've had significant growth. And we're more than happy to quantify. I think Mr. Longo gave the council members a handout some time back. We had growth in reading, we had growth in writing, we had growth in mathematics, all 3 areas that are tested. We had growth at every grade level, and we had growth in every school, from the 3rd grade all the way through to the 8th grade. At the high school level, our most sophisticated, the hardest, the most rigorous assessment that we have is the AP assessment, the advanced placement. It's not a locally crafted or state crafted assessment. It's a national assessment, so it's nationally known. Meaning we can't dumb down the test so we look a little bit better. That's a national test. We have substantially increased the number of kids taking the test. As a matter of fact, about 5 years ago, we had 54% of the students taking the AP test. We were taking AP classes. Now, for the past year, we have 100% of our students in AP taking the AP test. Secondly, we went from about 250 to about 450 kids in AP courses. And as you go from the most academically gifted out in concentric circles, what typically happens is your AP scores go down. Because these are kids who traditionally have not had that kind of preparation to really allow them to keep out of reading. In fact, our scores have been stable. And the highest level score, the 5s, have actually gone up over that period of time. Happy campers, which is what we like to do with our climate. True or false, the board's recommended 3.8 that you heard Mr. Fox talk about, and the mayor's recommended 1.8% allocation will have minimal impact on the district's ability to educate students. Before we go on, I just want to also reiterate, we're here and hopefully what is perceived as a very respectful position. We recognize the work that you folks are doing and the fact that you're between a rock and a hard place. You have all the departments coming and banging at the walls here saying, please more fire, please more public education this week. As a taxpayer, as a parent, as an educator, as a voter, I understand all those things. There's anybody in the room that doesn't. So we recognize how hard this is for you. We've tried, as I said, to do our due diligence. We came in at 3.8% because we felt that that was what was needed to do the least amount of damage. We also recognize that the best the city could do is 1.8%. And as Mr. Fazio said and Mr. Fox said, we're grateful for that and we'll try to do our very best to make it work. But we want to make sure that everybody recognizes there will be a substantial impact on our school system. The school system that we have today is not going to be the school system that we have next year. We're backsliding clearly. We're going to start looking more like larger ones instead of one of the medium-sized ones, the Bridgeports, the Harpers, and the Gables, and the Rivers. And you'll see why in a minute. Either allocation will result in severe cuts to program services and staff, and we tried to frame these out for you in a way that makes sense. With our 3.81% allocation for the 2010-2011 school year. We knew going in, as we presented this to the city, we would eliminate one elementary teacher. It looks modest, and it relatively is. It's our elementary gifted program. Elimination of 4 secondary teachers defined by teachers between the grade levels of 6 through 12. Elimination of 2.4 administrators, 1 non-certified staff, for a total cut of 8.4. It's hard to tell from here. We have other handouts that we can give you at a later point in time. There is a disproportionate number of administrators. We made more cuts at the administrative level than we have at any other level. And it looks like we're only cutting 2.4, but we only have approximately 50 people versus 800 people. A cut like that is, percentage-wise, significant. We're also going to experience a reduction of funding to our custodial services. There are constant concerns about buildings not being clean enough. We recognize that. We're going to be more challenged next year because of that. Our professional development budget. At one point, I know there was thinking on the council's part that we got $3 million a year for professional development. We weren't really sure how that came about. We got $180,000 a year. But there will be, we've already cut $55,000 out of that. And our gifted program, known as the summit program as well. That is what we requested, and those are the cuts that we have proposed internally through multiple scenarios. The reality is, if it stays at 1.8%, this is what we're actually looking at for next year. Beginning July 1, we will have an elimination of 26.7 teachers, another 2.4 administrators, 16 non-certified staff, for a total of 46 and change. 46 of our employees, in this case, probably will be good jobs. There is no employee retirement incentive program, so there's no place for those folks to go. If we have folks that leave from maternity and choose not to come back, folks who relocate out of the district or out of the state, we hopefully will be able to absorb some of those. As of today, what we're looking at is a net reduction of 46 of our employees. Our Even Start program, reduction of funding, that's really an elimination of it. Even Start is for those young ladies who've had children. We bring them back so they won't become dropouts. We have early childhood daycare programs for their children, and at the same time, we educate those young women so they graduate. That program is going to be eliminated. Closing the school is Woodbridge Intermediate, closing and then retrofitting, elimination of special subject area program at the middle school. You'll see this is substantial, and electives at the high school level as well. The overall impact, and this is probably the most important piece to see, between 2008 and 2011, so last year, this year, and next year, there will be substantial reductions in direct services to students in the area of literacy and through our gifted program. We're going to have increased class sizes at the elementary level. Traditionally, at the K2 level, it was 20 kids per class, and at 3-5, it was 25 kids per class. This year, we went K1 at 22, and 2 through 5 at 25. Next year, we may be looking at numbers more like 25 K through 3. And as we've been meeting, Mr. Bray and myself are meeting with our principals privately. What's happening is we've already had, for example, one report over at Ellsworth that we're going to have classes of 27 at the start of the school year if we don't do anything just because of the numbers of kids who have come up. Quick parenthetical statement on that. Dr. Belusky has been spearheading a redistricting and enrollment project. We've had a demographer come in who's very well respected in the field. Shelter Rock School is projected to grow by 57%. That's a staggering number that have huge implications for this. Again, we're going to have a reduction in administrative support to teachers throughout the district. Last year, we went through a major reorganization. We dramatically downsized central administration. We've cut professional development, as I said. Reduced or elimination of programming for the middle schools. Family and consumer science will be eliminated. Technology education will be eliminated. The possibility of world language being eliminated. And reduction or elimination of high school electives because we just don't have the resources to do that. Full-day kindergarten is on the chopping block right now. We've been talking about this for some time, just so the council members understand the dynamic. In every school, we have at least one full-day kindergarten, the rest are half-day kindergarten programs. We're talking about going to universal half-day care. We will need more full-day kindergarten for any parents or children. And with that comes the elimination of 11 paraprofessionals who support the kindergarten program. Closing and restructuring Millbridge, as we mentioned. Implementation of a pay-to-participate at the high school level for athletics and co-curriculum. It's important to understand there's a difference here. This is not pay-to-play. This is paid to play the athletics piece, as well as having a fee levied to be in the school play and band, and chess club, and any of the extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities. Again, we talked about the administrative positions, the custodial positions, possibility of reducing the school bus. How does that play out? It means that the walking distance, the radius gets larger, so kids will have fun when they walk to school. And we've already identified reductions at the charity services. And some of our kids. The district added a new curriculum administrator at the high school. This is out there in the community, we're not sure why. In reality, that's false. What we did was we took the position of associate principal, and this is to be played out this way if we can. We had one principal, one associate principal, we've had 3 years, and 4 assistant principals. That was last year, the year before, the year before. So this year, we have one principal, one associate principal, and 4 assistant principals. We did not have anybody new other than a person who assumed the role, an existing role. The associate principal that we had for many years, Mr. Whalen, maybe you know Mr. Whalen. When he retired, we replaced his associate principal position, but we increased it with the emphasis on instruction at the 612 level. Historically, that position has been 912. Although we added 3 more schools, so it's now Mr. Riley's former place and Dorothy Newton Rogers Park, there's no additional compensation for that job. So the job got bigger. There was no additional job put into place. We focused it around instruction because the Cambridge report came in saying we need a heavy focus on that. The NEASC report, which is the New England team that comes in and credits high school, so we can work on that. And internally, our board members, central administration, as well as our staff members said we need more vertical articulation from the middle school level to the high school level. So that position was recrafted to be 612. So clearly false, there was no additional person put in. It was just, as we had one person retire, we replaced that position. Great to ask. Significant cost avoidance. Mr. Long is going to be speaking to this in a little while. And, it's true. There are substantial areas that we looked at. So where we couldn't actually save money, we avoided expenses by being creative. I can't tell you how many times the council said, think out of the box. You'll see tonight how many times we've thought out of the box with good results. Our approach with the bargaining units, we want you to know that of our 11 unions, Mr. Gray has been very aggressive at working with them. Negotiated 0% increases already with 2 of those groups. Negotiations are ongoing with the other groups, and we're seeking to have similar results. These are ongoing negotiations, so obviously we can't talk too much about it. But negotiated 2 furlough days. The administrators union came forward and said we can give you back 2 of our days. We've requested furlough days for next school year from teachers and administrative group. They was declined to negotiate, for the reasons that the unions have stated. In part because we've already given back 2 days, in part because the degree to which it's fair to balance the entire budget on one particular bargaining group or even all groups. Negotiated significant givebacks on our insurance costs. We've had major savings there, and in a sense, we've really played one against the other, Sigma against Anthem, and it's typical competitive process that many districts use. We've had great success with that through Mr. Longo's efforts. We requested midterm bargaining regarding increase in total student load at the middle school level. The request was declined. What we mean by that is there's a cap of 125 students for most teachers at the middle school level. We've asked some teachers, a special subject, to double that number. We put them on a cyclical basis, so at any given time they have 125 kids, and totally they got 250. What happens though is they have that many papers to grade, that projects to review, that kids and families who've work, etc. It was a daunting request that we had, but we tried again to think out of the box a little bit, and then requested concessions from the bargaining group for next year. This piece is a little bit trickier. I'll see if I can leave all the education speak out of it. The Elementary and Secondary Education Act has been around for decades. The most current incarnation of that, most current, with No Child Left Behind. That's the Elementary Secondary Education, ESEA, George Bush's initiative. That is going to be a thing of the past, and it's being replaced by Race to the Top with the Obama administration. The idea is it's still part of ESEA. And with that comes accountability faction. But beyond that, if the entire ESEA federal legislation went away, Connecticut passed a law around something called CALI, Connecticut Accountability for Learning Initiative. That Connecticut Accountability for Learning legislation says, regardless of what Washington does, we are holding 169 schools in Connecticut stringently accountable to the targets that we set over a period of time. A growth model, that's why we look at 4 or 5 year increments. There are stringent performance improvement expectations that the State Department of Education is making. The reason being, sometime back, a few years ago, 12 districts, and 12 poorest districts in Connecticut were identified as districts in EQQ. I hate this term, but it's the kind of the street term for the failing school systems. And as you might imagine, there was a well-known, there's years of well-known researcher who did a well-known study that said, tell me the socioeconomic level of any given community, anywhere in the country, don't tell me the community, and I will tell you how the test scores are. He did it already, 100 times, Ted Sizer from Yale University, and he was accurate 100% of the time. And if you look at the demographic profiles, the lowest performing districts are the poorest, and the highest achieving districts are the most affluent. They have educational reference groups, which are now broken out by districts or DRGs. DRG A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. I is the poorest, A is the most affluent. Danbury is H, second to the poorest. The 12 districts that went are districts I and district H. Those 12 districts last year were joined by 3 others, Ansonia, Stanford, and Danbury. We were able, although we're the 7th largest district in the state, we were able to outperform many other school systems and we were identified in the second round. But we were identified in the second round. What that means now is that the State Department of Education's ad hoc committee, that is chaired by the state, one of the state board reps, and the Commissioner of Education now have us under their tutelage in a sense, and we are held accountable to those folks as well as to the neighborhood Board of Education. We have to periodically go up there and make a formal presentation to them, and they're monitoring our progress over a number of years. We have submitted a plan that was approved by them. It sounds outrageous, but it's true. They have the authority, the commissioner has the authority, he doesn't like what's going on, to come in and replace the superintendent and the entire Board of Education if you dissolve them. And you may have heard about this in Norwalk, because it came in with Mike Lisa and took them on notice, you change everything you're doing, we'll come back next time to dissolve this board and with the superintendent. And the board said, we understand what you're saying, and they revamped the entire process. We learned from that, because we weren't identified at that time, we were identified much earlier. And so we recognize the legal authority that comes from the planning. What does all this mean? We now have a district enhancement plan that's approved by the Commission of State Board of Education. Late May, early June, we will have to go back up there and report on our progress. It's a very, very lengthy plan, and we're going to have to give it to you. There are hundreds of methods throughout that plan that are being monitored by our own board, and internally by administration, and by the State Board of Education. If we don't show enough growth, they come in and basically take us over. We believe that we will be able to demonstrate the growth. From that earlier slide that I showed you, all of our test scores, 3 through 8, every school, every grade, every test is going up. They're thrilled with the progress we've made, and we are too. But we want to share these 2 pieces with you, so as you can see, we're on the same side as you are. We recognize that, and we're with you 100%. And we recognize that this is a challenge, and we do too. And this is that albatross hanging over our head. So we will everything in our power to make it work. But we would be lying to you if we would say that the school system will not be fundamentally changed next school year. Again, our kids.